Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian here, and today we are going to take a look at this guy right here. This is the Razer Mamba wireless. This is a mouse that came out towards the end of 2018, and it actually had a pretty competitive price tag at the time of just $99. Now you kind of fast forward to today, and it's only 50 bucks at most retailers. So you get this thing for $50. And you know, our idea here is what we're looking for today is it still worth it in 2020? Let's find out. Now, before we get into the review, I wanted to let you guys know that I paid for this with my own money, and I was not paid or anything to do this review. I was actually working on my G502 review that I have sitting right here, my main driver for my mouse, and my mom called me and was like, hey Brian, I'm at Walmart and it seems like there's some really cheap gaming stuff here. Is there anything you need? And I was like, no, not really, but you know, I do reviews and stuff, so I guess I can come out there and check it out to see if there's anything worth buying. So I took a trip to my local Walmart, and I found, you know, again, the Razer Mamba wireless 2018 sitting there for 50 bucks, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cheap. So I grabbed it and I decided to buy it so that I could do a review on it for you guys. Like all my reviews, I will leave a link in the description box below for anyone who is interested in it. Also, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on our future content. Okay, so in the box, you of course get the Razer Mamba wireless. You'll get your charging cable. You'll get this little extension block, so if you want to plug in your dongle into this and then kind of like get this closer to you, you can. And then you also get some pretty decent documentation. So this mouse is going to be rated for 16,000 DPI, and it's going to also be rated for 50 hours of battery life if you decide to turn the RGB off. The design of the mouse is pretty minimalistic, and it has like these rubber black grips on the sides that are super nice, super comfortable, helps you kind of like hold the mouse, you know, helps you hold the mouse. It's nice to have these grips. It helps you keep control of the mouse. The wheel on it has this rubber texture, and it feels super smooth. To scroll it, I actually love this wheel compared to a lot of the wheels I've tried. The RGB will light up the logo, and it'll light up around the mouse wheel. You can change that to whatever colors you want through the software, which we'll talk about more in a couple minutes. The build quality after you use it is definitely fine. It works, it's nice. But when you first look at it, you might think it looks kind of cheap. It does look kind of cheap, but I think it's made this way for, you know, it was designed this way for a specific reason. It was designed this way to be lighter than that of other mice, and so that's what I think that's what the problem really was. It's not necessarily that it's low quality. It's just lower weight. So they needed to use different materials to make sure that it would, you know, they could decrease the weight. The wireless dongle actually has a spot on the bottom that's right here. I love it. I absolutely love the fact that they actually have a spot for the dongle in this mouse. And for anyone who has a device like me who doesn't have that spot, you know why I love it so much. Like when you're done using a device and you don't know where to put the dongle, or an easy space to put the dongle, it's such a pain in the butt. Those things are so easy to lose that it's not even funny. The charging cable is pretty nice. It's nice and braided. It feels good. It feels high quality, which is really important because Razer uses a proprietary port right here that only fits, you know, that basically only fits this port. And so no standard micro USB will have the same width clearance needed in order to fit this port. So this cable is going to have to last you. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to buy a cable made the same exact way. And it's, you know, I get when you plug these in together, it looks great, but you know, this is a wireless mouse, so I'm going to use it 90% of the time wirelessly. And the fact that they made a proprietary cable to make it look good really bothers me. I mean, if this cable breaks, or say for example you're on a trip and you forget this cable, but you bring your mouse and this thing dies on you, you can't just run to like the local, you know, gas station and buy one of those cheap micro USB cables to charge your device. You're gonna have to go out and buy a proprietary one. Your mouse is gonna be useless this whole trip that you're, you know, out on the, you know, you're out doing. So I don't really get it. I'm kind of upset that Razer would go and do that for this mouse, because, you know, it's just really disappointing, especially if you're like me. I like to use this guy, which is a retractable micro USB cable, and it works really well. but I can't use it because this part right here is too thick. I don't know. Now, moving on, the Razer Mamba weighs in at 106 grams. We were just talking about that a minute ago when it comes to like the actual, quality wise. Really light. Keep in mind that this weight does not include like the weight of the cable when it's plugged in. And to me, like I just said, the mouse is a good weight. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It's like perfect. It's like the three little bears or the three bears, whatever. It's a great feel for a mouse. As for the length, it's 4.95 inches long. It's 2.75 inches wide, and it's 1.7 inches tall. And it fits my hand pretty well, but the design of the mouse actually forces me into a palm grip. And for someone that is typically a hybrid claw palm grip person, that's kind of like how I hold the mice. It was really strange for me at first, and it felt, really awkward. After I used it for a little bit, I found it to be okay when I was just like browsing the web or doing some light productivity work, when I was doing video editing, stuff like that. That was okay. But when I was playing games with this, the design really bothered me, to be completely honest. My wrist was definitely sore after about an hour or so of using this. And in my opinion, if you're a strict claw person, this mouse might not directly be for you. You might be able to test it out. It might be okay, but again, it's going to force you into that palm grip I just mentioned. And if you're like me, again, you might end up having some wrist soreness. So this mouse also comes with 7 programmable buttons that are rated for 50 million clicks. That's a ton of clicks. You should have this mouse for a very long time before these buttons actually fail. All the buttons feel great to press, and none of them feel squishy or anything like that. So that's not an issue. The one issue I did have with this mouse and the buttons was actually the side buttons. And the clicks feel fine on the side buttons, but when I was playing games, they just kind of felt awkward to press, and it felt really weird when I was pressing them. The shape of the buttons don't really make it easy for you to press, at least in my opinion, or at least press rapidly. And my thumb was like constantly cramping up when I was playing games such as WoW, which I use those 2 buttons all the time when I'm playing WoW. So for me, I didn't like those 2 buttons because of they were kind of hard to press. Now, in regards to the performance of the actual mouse, this mouse is pretty solid. I felt no noticeable lag. It was just so smooth, regardless of whether I was playing games or if I was browsing the web or if I was doing productivity work. The mouse sensor itself is phenomenal. It's great. It works. There's no issues whatsoever for this mouse when it comes to connectivity. The battery life is pretty impressive to me as well. I tested this thoroughly, and I found that you should be able to get between 42 and 45 hours of gameplay if you turn the lighting off. And it's pretty close to Razer's claim of 50 hours. So I'm actually really impressed that you can get that much time out of this mouse. Now, if you are someone who wants the RGB on, I was finding that you're going to get between 20 and 30 hours of gameplay, which in my opinion is really good for a mouse with RGB. But you do lose a pretty big chunk of your battery life because of the RGB. My suggestion would be that if you kind of want a mix of both worlds, just turn the RGB brightness down to like 50%, and that'll help preserve some of your battery life. I really didn't see a difference between 66% and 100% lighting when it comes to actual lighting of the mouse. So I think it's perfect just to drop it down to 50%. Again, I didn't see a difference in like how bright it really was. It didn't make that big of a difference. All right. So the software is good and bad at the same time. For my taste, it's quite a bit cluttered and it's a little bit buggy, but there are a lot of cool, useful tools in the program. You'll have to mess around with them, see what you like, see what you don't like. But the program lets you, again, program your mouse buttons, do macros, stuff like that. You can change your DPI and polling rate, which is awesome. And then you can also change your mouse's RGB. You can calibrate your mouse to your particular mouse pad. There's a ton of different other tools that are in that software. So there's a lot packed in there. You just have to mess around with it to see which ones you like the most, see which ones that you actually find usefulness out of. When it comes to the actual program, there's like a couple things that actually bothered me when I was using it. So first off, when I was testing the battery life, I ended up doing like 3 hours of testing for this mouse. And I was like really impressed at first, because when I was going to the software after like every hour I was checking it, the battery life wasn't updating, and it wasn't until I turned the mouse off and turned it back on again that the actual software would update. And so I spent the first 3 hours of gathering the data for the battery life. It was bad data because it wasn't updating. Once it updated, it was down like 20%, and I was like, what the heck? It was crazy. So I had to end up redoing a lot of my tests when it came to that. I also had an issue right off the bat when I was changing the DPI with the mouse in wireless mode. But that was fixed once I switched the USB port I had the dongle plugged into. I typically use that same exact port for every mouse I test and use. So I've never had any issues with it until, this mouse. I'm not sure, I don't know. I'm not sure. Because it was kind of odd to me too, because the RGB would still update on here, just not the DPI. Not quite sure, what was happening. Just the DPI was not working until I switched to USB port. Again, I don't know if it's a software issue or if it was a hardware issue, but just want to let you guys know that was an issue I had as well it was more pertaining to the software. Anyways, so this leads us to the question, should you buy it? And I think this is a great wireless mouse. This is a awesome wireless mouse. It's accurate, it has killer battery life, and it's only $50. But design hurts my hand when I'm gaming, and it forces me into a grip that I'm uncomfortable with. So, especially when I'm using it for long periods of time. If you're someone that already uses the palm grip, I think this mouse is perfect for you if you want a wireless mouse that has great battery life. On the other hand, if you have like a mixed grip or a claw grip, I think that you should probably try out a couple other mice, or at least try this one out. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, then go with something else. But I think you should keep your options open if you're not a palm grip type of person. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a thumbs down, but don't stop there. Let me know why you hated it in the comments below. I can't help fix the reasons why you didn't like it if you guys don't tell me why. So please let me know that in the comments below. Also, check out my latest videos. They should be like right here, or probably actually just one right here. And don't forget to subscribe for more tech content just like this. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below as well. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.